All right, Mike. I'm in F3, so I'm gonna peer into E3.
There's a wall to your left and to your right.
Okay, marking
West and east.
that. Moving. I'm gonna spin a cube to move forward. It's probably pretty safe. I'm gonna walk into D3.
There's a wall to your north.
Yeah.
And a trap.
Oh no! I got a fatigue too. Gosh dang it. Okay. Well, I can't get that trap now. But I still got this cube. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to run. And it's going to give me 3 moves. I'm going to go right into D2 because there's no way you're going to have 2 things right next to each other.
Nope. There's a wall to the west and to the south.
Perfect.
And a blob.
Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Mike.
And this is a Board Game Rundown. And today we are going to do a preview for Lairs from Kids Table Board Games. In Lairs, we're trying to join the Adventurers Guild. And what we're doing is we are going to be creating a map for our opponent. So this is a 2-player game. And I'm going to create a dungeon for my opponent. My opponent, Mike, here is creating a dungeon for me. You're going to start with like 20 wall tiles. You're going to have 3 monsters, 3 chests, 3 traps to start off with. And in the opening scenario, the introductory scenario, there's just those 2 to choose from. So there's just the hungry blob and the greased pit. So they're the only things we can encounter. You're going to fill out your map. You're going to build your board. There's a few rules you have to follow. You cannot double up on 2 of the same kind of monster or trap on a path to any of the goals, right? So the goals would be the exit or one of the 3 treasure chests, which you must also put in your map. So that being said, you're going to lay out all your stuff. You're going to try to, you can have that double thing kind of happen, but as long as there's still a viable way they could have gone where they wouldn't trigger both, it counts, right? You're good. So anyways, so what you're doing is you're going to set all that up. You're going to do that stuff. And then the first person to get done is going to pick who gets to go first or chooses who goes first. And it's going to go in the dungeon. So then we're going to move over to the other side of the phase where you now have this player board here. And you're going to have a map which you are tracking your dungeon. And you're going to have a controlled area, right? Where like this is Mike's marker. So I'm marking where he's going and everything. And you're going to spend cubes to do everything. You do have a quickness cube and a perception cube here in addition to these white cubes. So it costs a cube to move. Now I would just say, Mike, I'm going from D2 to C2. And then Mike is going to describe walls first and then any objects that I see. So D2 to C2.
Yep. Wall to your north, and that's it.
That's it. So I would draw a circle to show that as a known area, which just means I've explored it or I know what's there. And then and then I would move my marker there, and then on the control board, Mike would move me into that spot as well. Then you can do a quickness cube so that's creeping. You can just creep over. You can spend 2 white cubes to hustle, which would let you move 3 times, 1 at a time. So you would just go C3, Mike would describe it. Then I would move into it. Then I would go C4, and then Mike would describe it, and I'd move into it. And then I might say C5, and then Mike would describe it, and I would move into it. If at any time I encounter anything in those rooms, chest, trap, or monster, it stops and ends that whole movement. Now, the more efficient way to do that hustle is to spend the quickness cube. And instead of spending 2 white cubes, I could spend that quickness cube, and that will let me hustle for just the 1 cube. The other cool thing that the quickness cube lets you do is backtrack. So you can move through any number of known spaces into any other known space. It's basically a teleport to any other known space on your board.
Yep.
Super handy and really useful if used properly. Then the other thing you can do is to peer. So you can look into an adjacent space, not through a wall, by spending 2 white cubes. Basically, it's as if you move there without physically moving your token there. So I might go, Mike, I'm going to peer into C1. And then Mike's going to tell me what walls I see and if there's anything sitting in there. Or I could spend this perception cube to then peer in there. So instead of spending the 2 white cubes, I spend that. And then Mike would give me the description as if I had moved in there. The last thing you can do is you can conserve up to 3 of your cubes. You have 3 slots here. And if you do that, they're going to go over to the side. That's going to end your turn. But the cool thing about them being conserved is normally when I spend cubes, they go from fresh to spent. Well, a conserved cube goes from the conserved area to then the fresh area. And then I could spend it again, which will then put it in the spent area. If I encounter a monster, if you know that you're encountering the monster, you're going to get a chance to spend cubes to buy dice and roll to try to beat the health value. If you don't kill it on the first try, you're going to suffer the damage, which would be to fatigue any 2 cubes.
Which really slows you down.
Oh, it slows you down so much. And then if you fight it, if you know it's there, you can fight it. You roll the dice. If you don't kill it, meet or exceed its health, you keep track of how much damage you did to it. And then on the next turn, you can roll again. Or you could move out of that space away from the monster. And then traps are kind of the same thing, where the monster, except the monster stays on the board. The trap, if you encounter the trap blindly, you're going to suffer the consequences. Fatigue. And then that trap goes away. And it's off the board.
So you lost your opportunity to overcome the trap.
Right. You don't gain the reward you might get for disarming a trap successfully. But if you know it's there, you can then you can spend cubes and try to roll die to hit that target number or above, and then disarm the trap. And then you can add it to your trap collection, which might be worth points at the end of the game, or it might be like a goal you have or something. So then what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the exit, and once we find the exit, if we have found and opened at least 3 chests, defeated 3 monsters, so this is 3 chests or 3 monsters, or 2 chests and 2 monsters, you're now eligible to exit. If you're the first one to exit, it's worth 4 points, and then you're basically going to give your opponent one last turn to try to find the exit and get out. If they can also get out, that's worth 2 points. If you find a chest, there's a really cool thing. When you move onto that space, you're going to top deck the treasure deck, right? You're going to take that one, and then you're going to draw one from this available pool. And I like that because it might give you there's a kind of like a set collection thing going on here. So it might give you like a way or a direction you want to start building towards. So you're going to get one here and you're going to draw one. And then those are going to go behind your screen. So your opponent, if they're paying attention, may know what you've been pulling from here, but they don't know what you're getting from here. So you can kind of secretly build towards that. When you score a chest or find a chest, you're going to mark it you're going to put it on your board here. You're going to just physically take that chest, pop it on there. If you've defeated a monster, you're going to physically put it over there, put it there. And because at the end of the game, it's going to be worth points. If you've defeated all 3 monsters, that to exit thing is right here on the player board. You pointed that out, didn't you? But yeah, so you're going to get the more monsters you've defeated, potentially the more points you're going to get. And then at the beginning of your round, I don't think I said this, when you spend these cubes, they go to your spent area. And the first thing you're going to do is refresh your energy. So it's going to go back to fresh. If you have stuff in the fatigued side, it's just going to move to the spent side.
So it's out for a round.
And it's just this really easy sort of like flow, right? Everything either goes all the way down or back up towards the top. And that's basically the game. Once you play through the introductory scenario, which is just this stuff shown here, you can then open the first tuck box over there, which will then provide probably new monsters, maybe new treasures, potentially new rules. There are spaces for stickers here. So it is easy to assume or extrapolate that there might even be like extra dice or different kinds of things that are going to come out, right? If you're just looking at that part of the board there. Now, in the prototype that we received, that we only got 2 tuck boxes and 2 envelopes, but man, there's some juicy stuff in there. We have only peeked into the one box, and I don't want to show anything or give anything else away. But Mike, why don't you give me some of your thoughts on Lairs?
So there is a lot to like about Lairs. From the very get-go, just building your lair and setting these dead ends and these traps for the other players just feels very fulfilling. Hearing the other player across the table doing maniacal laughter while they're building their lair definitely starts it off right away. But then as soon as you start moving and you're not sure where you're going, or you don't have the opportunity to peer into a space, the tension ramps up really quick as you start exploring these lairs, looking for these monsters and these traps. And so there's a lot to enjoy just in exploring. But then when you look into actually trying to win the game, there's a lot of different ways to win. I actually got out of the lair and Tim did not, and he beat me because he had a much better synergy on his chest cards. And so the set collecting here is equally, if not more important than making sure you exit the lair first. So you may think the whole goal is to get out, but really there's only a 2-point difference between getting out of the lair first or second, or not getting out at all, which is 0 points. But Tim more than made up with that by having better a collection of chests.
I had found all 3 of the treasure chests, and it just sort of by luck, you know, because of the top deck and what's out here, was able to build a really nice scoring, you know, because of the set collection that I had set up.
Yeah, there's a lot to enjoy with just building this puzzle here, the tension in exploring the lairs, trying to find chests that give you synergies for point scoring, hoping, you know, pushing your luck with the monsters. Maybe you want to try to defeat it with 2 dice instead of 3, so you can save one of your white cubes for a movement to move into another space. And, you know, as much as we enjoyed this, there's so much more to explore in these boxes here, that the replayability is off the charts. You just don't know how your opponent is going to build their lair from game to game. I found this very fun to play, and it plays quick. I think we both agreed if we had the opportunity, we would immediately play this again.
Oh, yeah. Gone right into the box 1. And
Seriously.
The saddest part is that we've only got 2 boxes in this,
right?
In this thing.
But really, they could add so much to this. The expansion opportunity in this game is off the charts, because this sandbox here by itself is very fulfilling to play. And like, we're only looking at a blob in a grease pit. How many more monsters could you add to this that have their own different effects and different health and different abilities? This is a great game. I mean, I would highly suggest backing this if you think that a D&D battleship sounds like fun.
Right.
This is like D&D Battleship. It's like you're using deduction and a little bit of push your luck. Man, I really enjoyed this from start to finish.
Well, having just played Battleship with my son this weekend, I will say that this is a million times better. But no, I get the reference, though, right? Because you're just, you know, A3, A4, you know, you're going through and you're moving. There is legitimate tension, and as you are creeping through this lair, you know, through this dungeon. They did a really nice job. Aesthetically, even the prototype is very pleasing. I come to expect that from Kids Table Board Games. They always put out great looking stuff. Again, the prototype, right? Silkscreen meeples.
These 3D walls that fit into the dual layer player board.
Really fun. Yeah, my biggest gripe so far has just been my walls fall down a little easy. But I'm also an excitable player that bumps my board. So that's probably more user error than game design. But no, this was excellent. This was really well designed. You could see the learning curve, like the teach that I gave you at the very beginning, is you basically now know how to start and play the game. And then as you open up those boxes, it's going to add a rule. And the player aids right here on the board themselves, right on your screen, really good. Really, really helpful. And again, just the prototype. Your scoring is basically all laid out right here for you. So you're going to understand what the scoring is. In addition, the other rules like the exit and everything right at the bottom, like here to exit, it's on your player board. So you know the requirements you need to meet, like literally. And then you're going to physically have those pieces on your board. I appreciated that. I just can't wait to see what else this does. If this game was only this without the tuck boxes, I'd be like, man, it's really good, but they could do so much more with it. But It's really good, and they can and will do so much more with it. So I would this would be a strong recommend, right? I would
Agreed.
say so far, check it out. It was really cool that I was able to build up this really cool set. Now, when you score your treasure cards, you can only going to score 4 of them face up, and then any of the other ones you have are just going to be worth 1 point face down. So I scored a bunch of points because I had this scroll of Discord, which let me get extra points for all these other Discord items that I had, and then I had a book, which gave me extra points for having another book, which basically those books did the same thing. And then this Shattered Grail, which only was basically just worth 2 points, but then 2 more points for being a discorded item, which is why I kept it. Because otherwise I was trying to get these moon shards, which combo really nicely off of each other, the different kinds of gems. But you know, I was really worried. Mike got out first, and I was one space away, literally, one space away from getting to exit, and I thought, oh, I was so close, and now Mike's probably going to stop me. But the fact that I was able to make up those points because I had found that third treasure chest, honestly, that was kind of what was it. I had run into some rough luck with some monsters and trap combos. And it didn't matter.
Halfway through, I thought I had him. He fell into my traps and monsters perfectly. I was much more efficient with my exploring, but he won because he found better chests. So there's a balance here that keeps this game interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really kind of all I gotta say about it. It was fun.
A whole bunch of these to check out too. We've barely seen a fraction of this stuff.
And I'm sure there's more to come in those boxes.
Absolutely.
So anything else, Mike, before we sign off?
I highly recommend checking this game out. It hits Kickstarter November 23rd, and every game that we have previewed from Kids Table Board Game or Burnt Island this year has been excellent. And so this so far has not disappointed. It lives up to all the billing of every game we've played from them this year.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And if you want to see more or hear a little bit about it, you can check out our live stream that we did with Sean Jockman.
Yep.
That's on there where we did top 5 horror movies. And then if you're a patron, thank you, we do have us playing this. And then that'll be sort of a raw, less edited cut, and we just kind of play it fast and loose on there. So there might be some swear words and, stuff, people coming in or conversations that are happening off camera while we're doing it, but that's just the nature of those Patreon videos. So if you can and want to, that's an option, and we appreciate it. But we appreciate you being here. So if any of this looked, sounded fun or interesting, you should definitely check out that Lairs Kickstarter and see what it's all about. To quote a show that I used to really like, but you don't have to take my word for it. Okay, so for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
I was Mike.
Thanks for watching.
There's a blob in D6.
No!